This first segment is post-racial cinema, black film in the Obama age. We have Mike Dennis on my right, Charles Woods on my left. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mike first. Mike is the podcast director, and he's actually curated all of the films here at the Black Bottom Film Festival. Let's give Mike a hand for that. Mike is a Philly native, okay? He has over 20 years of experience as a filmmaker. He holds a BFA in film production from New York University and an MFA in film directing from the American Film Institute. In 1999, he founded Reelblack, an independent film company dedicated to creating and promoting good movies about black folks. Charles has been for more than 50 years studied and archived memorabilia depicting the images of African Americans in modern pictures. He has presented countless film series in all boroughs of New York for colleges, libraries, museums, and various historical societies. Many years ago, Charles and I worked on a project together in the 90s. So these both are my friends, so I wanted to kick it off with these guys. They're going to be entertaining and enlightening. Thank you for coming, and let's get started.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I have to reboot this thing. But welcome. Of course, the lights come up and we can't see you, so hopefully this will be a lively discussion. There are microphones. Hopefully we have enough time to take your questions. But we're at the August Wilson Center in Pittsburgh. First time in Pittsburgh, thank you. So August Wilson Center, I gotta say this. Dad, why don't you like me? So, like you. I don't have to like you. You got to respect me. So hopefully, we're talking about post-racial cinema in the Obama age. So, off the bat, we need to define terms. So, Wikipedia defines post-racial. I don't have it up, but I'm just going to read it off my screen. So, the kind folks at Wikipedia define post-racial America as a theoretical environment in which the United States is free from racial preference, discrimination, and prejudice. So Charles and I, for the last couple of years, we've been doing podcasts on my YouTube channel as well as SoundCloud, where we discuss different aspects of race in film. I mean, is anybody familiar with our work at this point, or? Okay, well, welcome. Please, I hope you'll check us out. So, it also deals with the Obama age. The election of Obama, that's when the term post-racial first came into play, correct?
Well, Mike proposed this idea to me, and we go back and forth because I've got 2 decades on Mike. So I see it as Obama-esque movies, and the post-racial thing came up with the election of Obama, and we want to see how it looks in film. The whole thing is,
I'll give you a quick
Obama
look.
gets elected, we hear the term what? Post-racial, right? That's the ideal. We finally reached that day where race doesn't matter. Cinematically, what films speak to that ideal? Or how does cinema deal with this idea of post-racial existence? Have we really become a colorblind society?
Right. So, okay, I see I'm in 2 different apps right now. So, so we talk about post-racial with the Obama election in 2008. His platform was hope and change, right? So as we know, racism didn't disappear with the election of Barack Obama, right? That's no secret.
No.
But there was definitely, and I think we all remember, the sense of optimism that we had, okay, when we had this image happen. And so the election was in November 2008. And one of the things, if you can darken me for 2 seconds while I reboot. Okay, I guess, all right. You get to see all this stuff on my screen. So with the Obama era, a month after Obama's elected, we have this movie come out, 7 pounds.
This gentleman look familiar?
Right. So, do you want to play the trailer or do you just want to talk about the film?
We'll get into it right quick for expediency. We wanted to kick it off. 2008, this film was released. This is 7 pounds, and we have Will Smith. There's a great deal of similarity we felt between Will Smith and Obama. Anyone know? You see his ears.
Right. So I wish I could put these side by side, but you also have, so it's I will put these side by side. So, that's that's the official portrait of Obama.
We all look alike, right?
From the portrait gallery. So it's I guess if you say there are no coincidences, Will Smith in a lot of ways projected the election of Obama. I would argue that he's sort of the avatar that sort of opened the door for.
I told Mike it's important that we start with 7 pounds, even though maybe arguably 7 pounds could not have been the impetus for it was Obama's election, but in many ways, when they went to promote 7 pounds, Obama being in office really inspired Will Smith to become a different person. A person, if you watch his body of films after 7 pounds, he's someone who wants to leave a life, a legacy of where he's doing something important. And 7 pounds, the theme of the film is someone who has the power to change people's lives. Because if you've seen the film, he's going to leave them, the people he's met, something that will change their lives, give them longevity through his body parts.
Right. So the character in 7 pounds literally provides hope and change for the characters in the film. So, but one of the things we talk about a lot in the podcast is the idea of film as propaganda, and that it is designed, as you say, to reinforce the status quo. Do you want to?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I also like Will Smith is because I want you to follow me in what I'm saying here. The importance of cinema, the imagery, the depiction of blacks particularly, it's about the popularization of black actors and actresses, but black actors more specifically, who are non-threatening, safe. Will Smith is popular because he presents that trope. When Obama was elected, I don't know if you remember what Harry Reid said. I don't think any other black man could have been elected because Obama was different in the way he looked and also in the way he spoke. So one of the things that made Obama something was someone that could be popular. Many people felt he had a safe image about him. That biracial thing became a talking point. But that's the reason why Will Smith is important, and I'll come back to that because getting back to what Mike brought up about propaganda, we call film pop cultural art forms. Pop culture, pop being short for popular. But in my perspective, from my analysis, I see pop being the perpetuation of power through the power of propaganda to promote oppressed passivity and patience. You can't see blacks in films reacting to this condition in a violent way. The only way we can act violently, we have to have the validation and the cooperation of the white other, the validating ally, the validating white ally.
Okay, so that brings up a good point. So in 2009, a movie came out, Clint Eastwood directed, starring Morgan Freeman, which shows, it's basically Nelson Mandela, who's a precursor to Obama in some respects. So it's called Invictus, and I just want to play the trailer, if that's okay. We lower the lights, please.
The
Today, President Mandela takes office in Pretoria, balancing black aspirations with white fears.
Remember this day, boys. This is a day our country went to the dogs.
Brothers, sisters, this is the time to build our nation. All of the whites are cheering for South Africa. All of the blacks are cheering for England. How long before the World Cup?
Don't get your hopes up. We're a damn disgrace.
I've been invited to tea.
With who?
President.
Tell me, Francois, how do we inspire ourselves to greatness when nothing less will do? How do we inspire everyone around us?
What did he want?
I think he wants us to win the World Cup.
This rugby is a political calculation.
It is a human calculation.
According to the experts, we'll reach the quarterfinals and no further.
According to the experts, you and I should still be in jail.
Times change. We need to change as well. We become more than just a rugby team.
Did you ever imagine this? How could I?
Do you hear? Listen to your country. This is it. This is our destiny.
I was thinking about how you spent 30 years in a tiny cell and come out ready to forgive the people who put you there.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Yeah. So on one level, it's one of the first films about Mandela. There've been lots of depictions of Mandela, but this movie is important because
It's important because it goes to the trope. What becomes very popular in cinema is that we have, we're quick to label things. We have white saviors and magic Negroes. That's the term that's bandied about. But what film is about, mainstream cinema, is about promoting this illusion of inclusion. It's about showing brotherhood, and that's beautiful. As a black man, I've been programmed and conditioned to see this imagery all my life. I can go see any kind of movie, and I can love that message. But it may not resonate with everyone. It's a beautiful message. But the other side of the coin of the message is that by promoting this on the level of showing brotherhood, it also prolongs the condition of oppression.
All right, so moving on. Now, one of the trends that we see, if we study motion pictures from the last 8 years or so, there's a great deal of movies being released to theaters that recalled historical events or framed blackness within the context of the civil rights struggle. So among the most popular, these all grossed over $100 million, were The Help, The Butler, and 42. So your thoughts?
Yeah, looking at these films, we see The Help. What do you have in The Help? You have the white savior. You have black women who were subjected to what was a popular image in film with Hattie McDaniel winning the Oscar for being a maid. Well, they tweak it here, and we see the backstory of what it was really like to be a maid. But to bring that issue to the consciousness of the world, the white savior, the white girl comes in, and she promotes the atrocity, the conditions behind how these black women are in people's homes, and they're not even respected. They're looked at as just help. The Butler, we have The Butler and we have 42, and a lot of people say we have Obama elected, and all of a sudden we have all these films coming out that want to take us back. Nostalgia, the conspiracy feeling is that, we want to show the good old days, what it was like before you can have a black man in office. I'm quite sure you probably heard that. And so the other side of the coin is this, that Obama's election, on one side of the coin, it says, yes, maybe America is getting to that point where we can say it's post-racial. But the reality is, once he was elected, we saw the obstructionism he faced, and we saw the hate groups exponentially rise, gun purchases went up, and hate crimes went up. And the thing is, when they had to deal with race in cinema, these tertiary issues, the way it was dealt with was from historical distance through films like 42 and The Butler.
Yeah, and also there's in terms of agency, we have to explore like whose story is it and who gets to tell the story. So these tie in also with Invictus in the sense that, ostensibly Invictus is the story of Nelson Mandela, but it's told through the Matt Damon character more. It's sort of like a...
Well, it's presented in a binary way. The way they deal with race, they present it in a binary where you have the story that should be a black story, but it's told through the eyes of the white as well as what's happening with the black. The same thing with 42. 42 is the story of Jackie Robinson, and you can't have Jackie Robinson's story unless you tell how important Branch Rickey was.
Right. Now, by contrast, let's look at these two movies, which are, the agency is a little bit different, but in Selma and Hidden Figures. You want to speak to that briefly?
Well, Selma, once again, we have the historical distance, and we're talking about what happened where blacks were rallying, that they were pushing through the civil rights activism to get this important right to vote. Now, we see the history of that walking across the Pettus Bridge, the death of Jimmy Lee Jackson. But when Obama got in office, what happened when we had the Supreme Court decision with, Shelby versus Holder, where the Supreme Court, through Justice Roberts, said the amendment no longer is necessary because everything's okay. What that meant was, one of the ways we can get a black in office is through the power of the vote. So now what we're hearing in society, voter ID, voter fraud, when the real issue is voter suppression.
Right. Very good. So, in terms of Hidden Figures, this is nominated for Oscars. We're going to watch the Oscars Sunday. From my standpoint, on a certain level, it's a regurgitation of what we saw in The Help, and I don't think that Hidden Figures could even exist if it were not for the huge success of The Help. You have Octavia Spencer in both films. They both take place within probably 2 or 3 years of one another in terms of temporally, but Hidden Figures depicts black women in a totally different light than The Help.
I must confess, I love Hidden Figures. And I love it for two very important reasons. That we see black women, if it's Obama-esque, what's the first law that Obama signed when he got in office? The Lilly Ledbetter Act, right? Talked about equality, women getting paid their fair share, right? For ages, women, black or white, were never expected to be on the level to handle math. And here are these women, black women, magic Negroes in a sense, that were important to getting man in space. But you can't have the story told unless we have Kevin Costner's character. And it's been said Kevin Costner has become, for cinema, the person who's maintaining the honor of the white man.
Yeah, if anybody saw Black or White was another film that came out during this time period, and McFarlane USA, he kind of plays the same trope. So just to reorient folks who got here late, so we're using the definition, post-racial America is the theoretical environment in which the United States is free from racial preference, discrimination, and prejudice. Now, there's also a movement, within, and Hollywood's all about money, right? So it benefits. I mean, clearly Hidden Figures, Selma wouldn't be huge success as Oscar nominees if it weren't for the involvement of, entire audience. General black and white people go to see these films. And within that Obama era, we saw the rise of, several key figures.
May I just interject?
Yeah, sure.
I'm thinking, I don't think I mentioned the other reason why I loved Hidden Figures. And the other reason that I feel is Obama-esque is I love the relationship between the black men and the black women in Hidden Figures. I just loved Mahershala Ali when he got on his knees or when he proposed. And he said, I knew when I was going to ask you to marry you, I was getting your daughters in the bargain. But there's that Barack Michelle inspiration for me, because I'm going to tell you, I've been raised by women all my life. I've had 3 daughters, and there's nothing more important to me than the love of a woman and the love of a black woman.
Right. So we have another clip. We'll probably play half of this, but so you saw the rise of a lot of people. Some people that were coming up before that, like Tyler Perry, continued to be a force within this period. With he's still releasing 2 movies a year for Color Girls, Medea. Tons of Medea movies. You also had Lee Daniels, who started with Precious, which is a movie don't have time to cover here, but also was released in that period. Now he's a juggernaut in film. Ava DuVernay, who did Selma. But I think for this time period, the 2 most successful black actors happen to be these guys, if we can play it.
My man!
You better back up, man.
Whoa, Calvin, it's me, Bob.
Sorry, do I know you?
Robbie Weirdick from high school.
God, man, look at you. You lost like 200 pounds. What did you do?
I just did one thing.
I need to know.
I worked out 6 hours a day, every day, for the last 20 years straight. And you should know one thing about me. I'm in the CIA.
Are you joking with me right now?
Drop your weapon! Now! I got a plan. Might get us both killed, but if it works, it'll be a totally boss story. Cool?
All right, I just want to get a freeze frame of these guys. So, briefly, we're kind of running out of time. So these 2 guys, super successful, representing 2 different flavors of blackness. Can you speak to that?
Right quick, the biggest black actor, the biggest actor for 2016 was The Rock. He beat out Kevin Hart. It was questionable, but Kevin Hart couldn't be considered because some of Kevin Hart's income was not just strictly on movies. But the reason why I want to show this as opposed to Get Hard or The Wedding Ringer, where you had the binary of Kevin Hart with a white co-star, is that ideally, if anyone represents this cherished hope for post-racial, colorblind society, no one does it better than The Rock, because when you see The Rock, you don't see color. You see a man who's a man, and that's what he represents. That racial ambiguity, that non-racial factor. That's why I wanted to show this clip.
Okay. Yeah, but we claim him in the race draft. I mean, his daddy's a black man, Rock is a black man. Okay, so just getting to the meat of things. I mean, there's some movies that people, sometimes things happen and people don't get it. Can we get half the house lights? I just want to see. So we're going to talk about some movies that you may or may not be familiar with, but definitely speak to reflected the zeitgeist of the time. So we're going to speak to Free State of Jones. Did people happen to see that one yet? Okay. The Birth of a Nation. Okay. And Fruitvale Station. Okay. So what do you want to lead with in terms of?
Well, getting to more or less a conclusion. not many people have seen Free State of Jones. We expected a lot more people to go see Birth of a Nation, especially with the response to when it played Sundance. And what happens is Birth of a Nation is unconventional because it shows the slaves' violent reaction to the atrocity of the condition of being a slave. In Fruitvale Station, it's one of the rare films, unconventional, because with all of the films we've mentioned and didn't mention, Fruitvale Station is maybe the only film that deals with race from a contemporary perspective. Everything else is historical distance or nostalgia. And not many people saw Fruitvale Station. There may be reasons why they didn't want to go see it, because they see enough of it on TV with all of the killings through unjustified police killings, which led to the people marching for Black Lives Matter. But the thing is, these films are the kind of films that in many ways speak truth to power. And I didn't want to see Free State of Jones initially because I thought it would be just another white savior film. But I watched that film, and it goes to the heart and core of the issue which plagues this nation.
Right. And I failed to mention 12 Years a Slave as well. But since it's just out on DVD, here's a small scene. So Free State of Jones, it's based on a true story, and it's also a reaction. There are a couple movies that related to the 1%, the Occupy movement. That could be a separate thing. So Free State of Jones would be one. Magnificent Seven definitely speaks to what the 1% is about, and I'm Not Your Negro is definitely weaves that in. So here's a minute and a half, just to give you a sense of what Matthew McConaughey's character is. He's not just a white savior. He's sort of trying to liberate people from the power structure that dominated the South. So here's a key scene.
These boys, these young men, they was your friends, your cousins, your brothers and your kin. But to those soldiers who didn't know, they was just niggas. They was just somebody else's nigga. So somehow, some way, at some time, everybody is just somebody else's nigga. Mr. Moses, are you a nigga?
No, I'm not.
Then what are you?
Free man, Captain.
Why's that?
Because you cannot own a child of God.
No, you cannot, can you?
Okay. So, just concluding stuff. So this now, we're 2016. And I would say the Oscars, there's more black people of color nominated this year than probably ever. I haven't done the math. Mahershala from Moonlight. You have Moonlight being nominated for Best Picture, Hidden Figures. Fences, of course. In terms of closing thoughts, where we we don't. It might not be this way next year because it's definitely a reaction to the Oscars.
Did he just say we got a lot of blacks nominated this year? Well, there's some power in protest, right? Last year was Oscars So White.
Yeah, well, yeah, and this is definitely a reaction to that because after you don't want to get in the face of liberal-minded Hollywood society and say that there's structural racism. So as soon as that hashtag caught fire, and Chris Rock hosted last year, every studio went out of their way to find movies that they could promote for the Oscars this year. So, we didn't get a chance to talk about Queen of Katwe, which is an excellent film, and, so many other things that were, 13th, they just found all these people came out of the woodwork, all this talent, and I think we're going to see some history being made this Sunday. But in terms of dissecting it, where do you think we are right now, Charles?
Well, I think that to me is a powerful scene, one of many powerful scenes in the film. But there's an illusion for me with this scene because one of the documentaries that's being up for an Academy Award is I'm Not Your Negro. How many of you heard of that one with James Baldwin? And what he's saying is, every society needs a scapegoat. It needs I'm not going to say the word, but it needs that because this society, we've constructed race so that we can make people who can't change their color the way the Irish could change the fact of their Irishness, or the Polish could change the fact of their being Polish, and because they can come together around their whiteness. You can get the book, Whiteness of a Different Color. Black folk can't do that, but that's how we can scapegoat them in this country and contextualize them as NIGGERS in make them the boogeyman, the bad guys, someone to blame for whatever economic straits we may be going through. But I'm not your Negro. That's what James Baldwin said. I'm not going to let someone define who I am. And that's what's important.
Right. So, my closing thoughts on, if you're looking at cinema from a post-racial standpoint, there's so many different things that happened in the last 8 years that are so important. Marshall Shah, he's like taken over. Like there's a whole new wave of talent that has revealed itself in the last 4 to 5 years from in front of the camera and behind. It's just at Sundance. Dee Rees has an amazing film coming, Mudbound. When that comes out, Get Out came out today, which is like a mind-blowing thing. And then we didn't even cover the TV landscape. But, a lot of that has to do with the advent of technology and also the rise of social media. So if you look at people's history, a lot of the people that are now major players or becoming major players within the studio system started out doing independent films, and a large result of that came from the digital technology. It became much cheaper and affordable to make and distribute motion pictures. So just talking about what's going on with the Oscars this year, previous to that, if you look at Black Oscar nominees, those were independent films, generally, that were picked up and brought into the studio system. After the Oscars So White hashtag, we see studios going and initializing production on film. So they initialized Moonlight was financed by a studio. Queen of Katwe was financed by a studio. 13th was financed by a studio. Fences was Paramount Pictures. So that reverses the trend in a sense, where the independent route fed the talent that would go, so previous to that, like Ray was an independent film that was brought into a studio system, won an Academy Award, So now this year we see a reversal of that trend, and I think history is going to be made. So we're getting a wrap up. So we'd love, they have to flip the room over for the next shorts. We need to stay on schedule for the night. But I really want to thank you all for coming out and listening to us. I hope we shared some information of value to us, and we're here the whole weekend, so we'd love to have some conversations.
Peace and blessings to everyone. Thank you for coming.
I'd like to thank Charles and Mike for their information, their dedication to film. Mike, how many films you watch a week? Like 15 a week or something like that?
That's my job.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to let some more people come in and get ready for the shorts. You don't have to leave or anything like that. You can stay and relax, and we're going to let some more people come in.